Hi, Dave here. I'm back, and I wanted to talk about something that I've seen other people talk about, and I find it kind of interesting. I also find myself watching these videos a lot, where I get other people's opinions on their favorite firearms for different situations. So I thought I would do one just to kind of get my opinion out there. And I would like to say up front that I don't own all of these firearms now, currently. And some of them I've never owned. However, this is my opinion and in no exact order. This is just a list of the 5 firearms I prefer at the range. Now, these are going to be all pistols, and there is no restriction on price. It's just my all-time favorite firearms I've taken or used at the range more than one time, and my opinion of them, as well as a little information about each one. Now, a couple of them I do own a version of them, but for the rest, I've owned some in the past, and others I have borrowed at the range, and some of these I've borrowed at the range and currently own. So we'll get into that. So the first one on my list I don't currently own, and I've actually never owned one of these. However, I've borrowed one of these at the range several times. I had a friend that had a variant of this, and it is the Beretta 92. Now, I include the Taurus version in that, and the reason I include that is because Taurus tooling was designed off of the original Beretta 92 design. So the Taurus version I've shot, the Beretta version I've shot, they feel very similar when shooting. There are some people that feel that the Taurus version was higher quality at one point. I don't know. But the Beretta 92, and now a little information about the Beretta 92 is it's actually been around since 1975. It comes in a couple different variances, 9mm and 40 cal. You can get 10 round magazines, usually more recently, but the standard used to be 15 rounds. Now, it was bumped up for the military to 17 rounds, and I know that you can get 20 round magazines as well. There is, with this firearm, one of the appeals of it is it's a very smooth shooting gun because of the weight of it. It mitigates a lot of the recoil. However, the aftermarket on these, there is a huge aftermarket. And I'll have some pictures of these intermixed here and there. But there's a huge aftermarket for these. I know Wilson Combat makes it. You can get different grips for it, different sights, different triggers. So I know that they're very tunable for your like. Now, not every firearm has that capability, but this is one that does. And I actually like it because of that. And I do think that the military aspect of it did contribute to that a lot. Number 2 on my list. Once again, these are not in any order of preference. This is just number 2 on my list. Number 2 on my list is actually the first firearm I ever purchased when I was 18 years old, living in Georgia. It was legal to own a revolver, possess a revolver or pistol, but you could not purchase it. Somebody over 21 had to purchase it. And I had a friend who was over 21 purchase it for me. And it was the Smith & Wesson 686 357 Magnum in a 4-inch barrel. Now, looking for the images of this firearm, it was really hard to find one in the stock formation. There is so many different aftermarket parts, the different sights. You got different customizations you can make to these. You've got different trigger setups you can do for them. There's people that have bobbed the tail, the hammer. You've got different grips. You've got different sights. You've got, I mean, just ridiculous amounts of changes. And a lot of these haven't really, some of the original ones that I was looking for, you can't find them in original form anymore. And unfortunately, I'm a little upset about this, but Unfortunately, at the time I owned it, I trusted the wrong person with it, and it was sold without my knowledge. Many years ago, this we're talking 30 some years ago, so it's not something that I would go after them for, but I kind of suspected that's what happened. But Smith & Wesson 686 357 Magnum 4-inch barrel, 6-inch barrel, really nice firearm, butter smooth trigger, double action and single action, really nice. Holds 6 rounds, and I do believe there is a larger frame that holds 7 rounds. Don't quote me on that. I'm not a huge no. I don't have a huge knowledge on the revolvers in that aspect, but it is a very smooth firearm. Now, because I was new to shooting, me not very good with it. I had a lot of trouble getting my aim down. Made a lot of rookie mistakes as far as dangerous things, shooting without ear protection, eye protection, really dumb things. But if you want more information about that part of my history of shooting, I'll go into another video on it. But that's my number 2. Number 3 is another revolver, and I have owned one of these as well. And this was one of my favorite revolvers. It is the Ruger SP101. Now, this firearm, the Ruger SP101, is it's a huge range of firearms, of pistols, revolvers. Usually they're 357 Magnum. You can get them in a 38 variant. But if you get the 357 Magnum, you can shoot 38 as well. I have in mine. They come from hammerless or sliced off hammered double action only snub nose pistols, all the way on up to, I believe they have an 8-inch variant. I know they have a 6-inch variant of double single action. All of them appear to be a 5-round by the frame of it, cylinder. And they all, I mean, the one I had was extremely smooth to shoot, even though it was only double action. It was basically, there was a hammer, but there was no spur on the back of the hammer. So it was concealable. And it was a snub nose. And the pull on the trigger was a bit hard or stiff, but it wasn't anything that really screwed up the shot. I mean, it was a snub nose, so long distance wasn't that great, but I have shot larger versions of this, and honestly, it is a smooth, very refined, very well manufactured pistol or revolver. Now, I have seen customizations of these where they've ported the barrel. I've seen different grips for these, different sights for these. The one I had, the sights weren't replaceable. It was all milled through the top, but very nice firearm. I love these things. If I were to buy another revolver of the 357, that would be the kind that I would want. Very nice, very customizable, very good size aftermarket on it. Very nice. Number 4 on my list, I actually own 2 of them of different years and different calibers. And this would be the Smith & Wesson MP full-size range of firearms. Now, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to say, oh, I don't like this. You know, that's fine. This is all a preference thing. So the first one I bought was the 40 cal, and these do come in 9mm. In fact, back then, 9mm 40 caliber, which I think we've already covered. It can be converted to 357 SIG, and 45. The 45 has a different frame to it. The 9mm and the 40 cal have around the same frame. There is very minor differences. However, you can swap uppers between the two. The aftermarket on these is actually as well pretty large. You can get aftermarket triggers. You can get aftermarket sights. There's aftermarket slides, aftermarket barrels. There is customizations you can do to the barrels. I know there's a company that will do something called a sight mount, where you can mount a red dot to it. There are company modifications to it where the Smith & Wesson Custom Center will customize it for you. There's a lot of different things you can do to tune these to your liking. And this is one of the reasons why I find this to be one of my favorite firearms to take to the range. As far as carry, I don't see a reason for me to carry. I have, but I don't usually see that. And that goes not just for the older model, but also the 2.0, which they're about the same size. And once again, same customizations available. Same, I mean, obviously not everything's going to fit across, but very, very smooth shooting, very, very reliable firearm, very fun to shoot. Many different magazine sizes you can get for it. Very interesting as well. And my last firearm on the list for favorite ones to shoot, and this is going to surprise a lot of people because I've complained about this firearm specifically a lot, and that would be 45 ACP in a 1911. Now, 1911s have been around for a long time, and the one I own was my problem because I had purchased one that was probably not so, well, it was definitely not very expensive, and it wasn't very well manufactured. Some of the ones that you can get and customize, if you're willing to put some money in, these can become extremely butter smooth. They can become anything you want, and they sell them in many different variants. There's a 38 miniature variant, 380 miniature variant. There's 38 Special, 357 Magnum. I know that there's several different companies that produce them in 357 Magnum. There's 9mm, 40, 45. I believe you can get 10mm. I even saw on Demo Ranch he had one that was in 30 carbine, which was ridiculous. However, you can get them in so many different calibers. As far as across the different, the same caliber, like the 45s, I know that you can buy parts and you can have them customized and you can tune the trigger to be as light as you want or as stiff as you want, have no draw. You can customize the beaver tails. You can customize hammers. You can take the hammer spur. You could take the hammer spur off if you want, or make it just a straight barb. I mean, there is so many different variants and so many different aftermarket parts for these, so you can actually tune them to any which way you want. In fact, I mentioned earlier there was a company that milled the 357 or the Smith & Wesson slides, so you can put in that mount for the. They'll do that with the 1911s as well. And it's just ridiculous on the aftermarket. Now, the reason why these are one of my favorites for the range is because of just the smooth and the accuracy of it. Granted, the standard magazines are not very high capacity. However, and this is kind of ridiculous, I've seen drum magazines for these. I don't know how reliable they are, but for a range, I could see that being fun. You fill it at home while you're watching TV, you take it to the range out of the lockbox and pop it in, and you're shooting and having a good time without having to reload every 7, 8 shots. However, that's my list. Go ahead and leave a comment below. Give me your top 5 for your list. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't like other firearms. Glocks, I've shot them. I'm not a huge fan of them. I do kind of want a Glock 17 long slide. That's a bit different, but that's another video. I do like shooting the Taurus. There's a lot of guns that I do like shooting. These are just my top 5. Leave me a list of your top 5 in the comments below. But this is Dave. We'll see you next time.